launched alongside the JBL Wave Buds, and it made me wonder if these two were exactly the same set of earphones, just with the difference of a stem on these. But I'll leave that level of curiosity for a comparison perhaps. For now, let's jump straight in with how these are built. JBL hasn't seemed to be making any compromises with these sets of earphones despite them being a little more affordable. You'd get the standard things you'd expect in the box. The buds come in a case, and under it you get a JBL branded charging cable, small and large ear tips with the mediums already placed on the buds, and you get the literature as well. The case comes in a matte finish, which seems to be a standard from JBL, and it's safe to say that this does better than having a glossy case in the long run, since it doesn't scuff and scratch as badly as that finish. The case has a JBL insignia on the front which catches light at certain angles. There's a USB-C charging point at the bottom of the case, and you get one notification light just under the lid. If it's lit red, it means your case's battery is low. If it's orange, it's at medium, and if it's at green, the battery is at a higher charge. The lid has a firm spring which doesn't pull back until a little later in the throw, and has a soft shutting sound when it's closed instead of a slamming sound. Despite having a lid, the earphones don't come on when the lid is flipped open. To switch them on, you'll have to take them out of the case. Only then will the case let you know how much charge it has, and you'll notice blinking lights on the earbuds too. These lights are to indicate whether they're connected to a device or not. Thankfully, they will go off once they're connected to a device. The area with the JBL branding on either stem functions as a touch control area, which I'll speak about in the chapter about features. This part of the earbud has a glossy finish, so you can expect it to show grease marks or scratches over time with use. The housing of these earphones is a little on the larger side, which got me wondering whether or not they'd be comfortable over longer listening sessions, and from the testing I've done, I found the left earbud to start causing discomfort, which eventually leads to pain for my left ear. I have tried swapping to smaller ear tips, but it's not the ear tip that's the problem. It's the sheer size of the housing that's too large for my ear. This is something to be aware of before you decide to bite the bullet with these. Comfort should be a priority when you're considering having earphones as a companion, but overall, on a build front, they're put together quite well enough to get an IP54 rating for the earbuds and an IPX2 rating for the case, so these should work perfectly well for outdoor runs in light rain. These come with Bluetooth version 5.2, they have JBL app support, and they also have touch control gestures. These don't have active noise cancelling, but I haven't found myself missing this feature since its passive isolation is as good as it is. Despite lacking this feature, it has the ambient sound control from JBL, which lets in the outside world while you're wearing these and have the feature on. It's great for a little bit of safety if you're on a walk or a run and you want to be aware of your surroundings. When it's on talk through mode, it'll reduce the volume of your content so that your surroundings are more of a priority. You get an EQ in the app as well, which I'll speak about in the chapter about sound, and you get gesture controls. A single tap on the left bud lets you increase the volume. A double tap reduces it. A tap and hold activates your native voice assistant. A double tap will answer and end calls, and a tap and hold will reject incoming calls. On the right bud, a single tap will play or pause your content. A double tap will skip over to the next track. A triple tap will take you to the previous track. A tap and hold will activate your native voice assistant. A double tap will answer and end phone calls, and a tap and hold will reject any incoming calls or mute your microphone during a call. Each earbud's gestures can be changed to control either ambient sound controls, volume controls, or playback controls, which locks that specific bud into doing those specific gestures. So you can't really personalize what you want certain gestures to do. It remains pre-assigned. Then you get a voice away feature which works during phone calls that I've only seen on JBL earphones. It plays back your own voice to you instead of alienating your voice like some earphones can do. Some people do like to have this feedback. You can control its intensity from low to mid and high while on calls. The smart audio and video feature ensures it's transmitting the best audio codec to your earphones when on audio, and when it's switched on for video, the latency period has an improvement, and I'll elaborate about this a little more in a moment. You can toggle your voice prompts on or off, toggle between the max volume limiter, which caps your volume at a maximum of 85 decibels should you want to protect your hearing. You have a Find My Buds feature which will help you locate your earphones if they're within Bluetooth range. The power saving mode is a neat feature to have, especially since these don't have in-ear detection. So if you're not playing any media, you can choose for these to switch off after 30 minutes, 1 hour, or 2 hours. Coming back to the lip sync feature these have, with the smart video off, there is definitely a bit of a lag between your video and your audio being delivered to you. Now, when you switch it on, there is a slight improvement. So let me show you the difference between it off and on, whether you're gaming or absorbing video content.
Connected.
So how is this comparison going to be fair at all? Because one set is wired and the other is completely wireless. Well, the JBL supports SBC and AAC codecs. So my phone shifts over to broadcasting only SBC codecs. So this should be as fair as possible when it comes to how they sound.
Connected.
The XB10 does have an inbuilt microphone, so you can take calls, but don't expect it to be as good as the JBL because I don't think it's running an ENC algorithm. But if you'd like to know how you'd sound to your recipient, let's put their microphones to the test. So I'm calling from the usual busy street. I normally make a lot of these call tests from just to give you a sense of how much noise there is in the environment around me. Now, I don't suspect these to have environmental noise cancelling because I haven't seen any mention of it anywhere for that matter. There is no mention of how many microphones these have, but judging by how these look, whenever I've looked at them, it does look like these have two microphones. I have spotted one in each earbud, but I could be wrong. If you do know the information and you would like to help a few people, leave a comment down below so that they can be updated about this product as well. So I have been on the camera microphone all this time and I'll switch over to the JBL Wave Beam right about now. So this is the kind of audio quality you can expect to be carried over to your recipients if you're in a similar setting where it is this noisy near a busy street. So what I normally do is I toggle between active noise cancelling modes to see if there's any load on the environmental noise algorithm. But since it doesn't have environmental noise cancelling, I will go into the app and toggle between the other features it has. So this has ambient sound control. Now, I am right now. None of this is on, so what I'm hearing right now is through the passive isolation TV, and it does pretty well because this is not really very disturbing. So what I'll do is I'll switch on the ambient sound control right now, and after she gives me the voice prompt of it being on, all these car sounds, bike sounds, and so on are feeding in, which I'm able to hear very clearly. So this is ideally something you want to use if you're on a walk or on a run to know what's going on around you. Then you can shift over to talk through mode, which is disabled during calls because it says this feature is temporarily disabled during audio call because an audio call is ongoing. So now another thing that you can do in this is go over to the voice aware feature. Now, once this is switched on, your voice, take for example, I'm talking right now, so I can hear my voice coming back to me in a very low volume, but I can switch over to medium or even high. So my voice feeds back to me a little more than in the low setting. So a lot of people do prefer this feature where they can hear themselves. I'm okay with it off, but it's nice that they've included something like this. So this is pretty much how you can expect your voice to carry over to your recipients, and I hope that this has given you a better understanding of what these earphones are about. And of course, if you do know about those microphones or if this has or doesn't have ENC, you can leave a comment down below where I'm open to discussions. So I hope this has helped you understand these, and I will see you back at the studio. Much like the JBL Wave Buds, these come with 8mm dynamic drivers, support SBC and AAC codecs, and have a frequency response of 20Hz all the way up to 20,000 Hz. On a volume front, these sit very comfortably between 45 and 50%. I'd say that's around where its sweet spot is. It can get a little too loud the minute you go at around 60% and go above that. JBL has included a volume limiter at 85 decibels. Now, of course, you can toggle this feature on and off if you want to go beyond that 85 decibels, but I wouldn't recommend it. At lower volumes, these do tend to thin out. So once you start dropping below 40% all the way down to 5%, you will hear a loss in the bass and upper frequencies. Soundstage on this exists like most other TWS earphones. It exists within a bubble in your head with the phantom channel sitting dead center. There are certain times where some tones can give you the illusion of coming from slightly out of them. The imaging on this is also similar to other TWS earphones in this price range, but this does have a certain level of crispness to it, much like the JBL Wave Buds did. In fact, that's what got me wondering whether or not they've used exactly the same hardware between these two earphones. High frequencies have a clean response, and these remind me a lot about how the Wave Buds deliver this range. There is good detail which doesn't come to you over enthusiastically, so this range doesn't pierce or hurt the ear, despite being a bit elevated instead of having a flat response. Listening to Alan Taylor's Wheel of Fortune, the higher pitched strings on the guitar and percussive instruments come with a softness that's pleasant to listen to over longer listening sessions, unlike some earphones in this range that want to deliver aggressive high frequencies, which just tend to cause a lot of listening fatigue. Mid frequencies on these are handled with a sense of grace, which I didn't expect these two considering how the Wave Buds performed. There is a recess here, but it's not pushed too far back. Vocals and instruments are still present and are delivered with a good amount of clarity. Listening to Keon DeCro's choir version of I'll Be Waiting, his vocals come through clearly, but I was expecting them to stutter when the choir comes in this track like the Wave Buds did. But these handle the load of the choir with ease. There is good separation between Keon's voice and the backing vocals, as well as a good amount of decay in how the vocals die out. Hearing how these earphones do this was in fact a very pleasant surprise. Low frequencies on these may not appeal to a lot of people like the Wave Buds would, because these handle this range slightly differently. This range isn't as heavy or bloated sounding as the Wave Buds. These tend to handle the bass in a cleaner approach that isn't as heavy sounding. So I wouldn't say these handle EDM with excessive bass, making this sound better with more acoustic music rather than anything electronic. Listening to Swedish House Mafia's Don't You Worry Child, as much as the bass exists with this track, it's almost as unexcited as receiving a gift that's already been opened on your birthday. It doesn't have the body that most people would want if they want to listen to EDM. But should you want to tweak your bass or other frequencies ever so slightly, JBL has in fact included the EQ settings within the app, which are Jazz. This preset bumps up the highs and lower frequencies, giving a little more emphasis in the bass than how these sound out of the box. Then you get Vocal, which accentuates the mid-range. This works well for audiobooks or podcast consumption. I wouldn't recommend this for music listening as it tends to sound quite boxy. Bass boosts the lower frequency range while flattening out everything else. The bass doesn't have much character with this preset, but when you shift over to Extreme Bass, it has better definition than just an accentuation. It's more controlled than just sounding boomy with these preset. Then you can also make multi-band custom presets to find the sound you prefer. So to sum up, on a build front, these have a very premium feel. For that matter, when I first unboxed these gave me a sense of being a little more premium than the JBL 230NC when I unboxed those. JBL is just doing a terrific job with the matte finish. In fact, I'm so glad that they've focused on it, because I haven't yet seen any glossy finished JBL products. At least I've not reviewed them. So I'm glad that they've taken this route. This one's ear tips are quite comfortable. In fact, it's a nice soft silicone, and I like the fact that the mounting area clicks onto the earbud much firmer than the Wave Buds do, because the Wave Buds are just all very soft silicone, which is a nuisance to change. With this one, it's fairly easy to swap between earbuds if ever or whenever you have to. Despite swapping between all the other earbuds to see which one fits me perfectly, I just couldn't get the left earphone to feel comfortable at any point. Now, I have had a similar issue like this with two other earphones, and that would be the Realme Buds Air 3 and the Oppo Enco Air 2 Pro, because those ones' housings are also on the larger side. So it's not just a ear tip issue. The overall housing is a little too large, and my left ear tends to be a little small. Now, I have had a few people comment on those specific videos, on those specific reviews, saying that the comfort for them is a problem. Some people have had discomfort in both ears. So it's worthwhile considering comfort as well before you bite the bullet with these earphones, because there's no point picking up earphones that you may like the sound to, and if they're not comfortable, it just doesn't work. There's no point listening to music in absolute agony or discomfort over time. So if you have had experience with the Oppo Enco Air 2 Pro and the Realme Buds Air 3 and you have had discomfort or pain, I would not recommend these to you, because you're bound to feel a little discomfort with these. If you do have larger ears, on the other hand, and your concha, this area of the ear is a bit larger, these should be comfortable enough for you. Now, on a feature front, you know these aren't the best out there, but I think what JBL is striving for is more sound quality rather than features, because I think the Oppo Enco Air 2 Pro just supersedes this with its features any day of the week. That set of earphones has active noise cancelling. I think it has in-ear detection, or am I not remembering that right? And it also has a multi-point connectivity, so you can swap between two devices if their Bluetooth is on either device. This I don't think has multi-point pairing, so you have to be willing to not have these features if you're looking at this set of earphones. The one thing I've never liked with JBL earphones is the touch controls, because you cannot really customize it to what you want. So you can't customize, let's say, a single tap on the right bud to one specific thing and a double tap to another specific thing. You have to select a list of features you can assign to the right earbud and the left earbud. So you're locked into that specific thing. With all the JBLs I've reviewed so far, this has been the case. So it is kind of limiting, but you do get used to it. So it's not such a bother. But if you can live with these few quirks, and if you don't want ANC, the one thing that would work out for this, I think, if you're into the sound front, these perform very well on a sound front. So I did think that the Wavebuds and these would be very similar. I should in fact do a comparison between the two just to see how they stand up against one another, because they have a lot of similarities. Something tells me they have used similar hardware, but I think the difference in sound between the two is the construction of them, because the way the chambers will resonate is bound to be different between the two, and that's where the actual difference is, because this one doesn't have that much bass emphasis as I remember the Wavebuds to have, but it gives it in a much cleaner form. In fact, if you don't like bloat, you don't want very heavy bass, these handle it well. It's not that they don't deliver bass, they do deliver bass, but I don't think a lot of people will want this if they're really into EDM. So overall, I would say these are value for money if you're willing to have a set of earphones that don't have these certain features and its characteristic suits with you when it comes to the sound, because I can see a few people enjoying these. And also when it comes to its overall latency and call quality, I think you are the best judge, because you are sitting in the reviewer's seat during those demos, so you can decide if this works out for you or doesn't. If you've missed seeing them, you can jump back over to those chapters and see if they work for you. So coming back to how much they cost, at the time of recording this video, these have an MRP of 4,999, but they are being sold today at the time of recording for 3,998. And if you do think that these are for you based on the way I've described them, I will leave the link down below in the description if you would like to buy them. So I do hope you found this video helpful and informative, and I hope I've helped you make some sort of purchase decision. If you would like to help the channel, I'm sure you know exactly how to. But of course, thank you for tuning into Paul's POV for some sound advice.